Today we're talking about lesson 1.9. We're moving on from rounding, but we're going to use all the knowledge that we learned from rounding to help us with the next few skills as well, okay? And today's learning goal is to use what you know about place value to add decimals. And if the place value chart has the ones, the tenths, the hundredths, and the thousandths, where does the decimal point need to go, Sophia?
Between the ones and the tenths.
You got it. It would go right here, between the ones and the tenths. Now, in this first problem, I have 2 tenths plus 6 tenths. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw 2 tenths in the tenths column. And then how many tenths do I have to add to it? 6. So I'm going to draw 6 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here in this problem now I have 2 tenths, right here, plus 6 tenths. And I'm going to count how many tenths I have all together. So go ahead and draw that and count how many tenths you have all together. Roni, how many tenths are there all together? 8 tenths. So I know that 2 tenths plus 6 tenths equals 8 tenths. Go ahead and write that down in your notebook. Now in the next problem I have 2 ones, so I'm going to draw 2 discs in the ones place. And I have 3 thousandths, so I'm going to draw 3 discs in the thousands place. I'm adding to that 6 ones, so I'm going to draw 6 more. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 discs in the ones place and 1 thousandth. Once you've drawn all this in your place value chart, go ahead and write the answer up here at the top. What do I have in total? Okay, so all together you can see here now I have 8 ones. And how many thousandths, Alona? 4 thousandths. Good. Okay, go ahead and write that down. So now that I have 1.8 modeled in my place value chart, I need to draw 13 more discs in the tenths column. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, now I could say my answer is 1, 1, and how many tenths do I have altogether? Let's count those tenths. I have 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 21 tenths, right? Does 21 tenths, is that simplest form?
No.
Can I regroup any of these tenths to become a 1?
Yes.
How many tenths do I need to regroup to become 1, 1? How many tenths does it take to make 1, 1? Besisht? What I can do is I can regroup 10 of those tenths. Here's 10. And they become 1, 1. Now, in my remaining tenths, do I still have more than 10? Yeah, so I can regroup another 10 tenths as a 1. So now, what's my final answer? How many ones do I have? 3. And how many tenths do I have left after I've regrouped these ones? 1. So I have 3 ones and 1 tenth. Now that, of course, in standard form is 3.1. We have 148 thousandths plus 7 1 and 13 thousandths. I don't know about you, but do you want to draw 148 discs in the thousands column? No, that's not a good use of our time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a horizontal line to show that we're starting on our next problem. And 148 thousandths. Instead of doing that, I'm just going to write the number 148 in the thousands column. Okay. To that, I'm adding 7 ones in the ones column. And how many more thousandths? 13 thousandths. Okay. So instead of drawing discs and adding them together, could I just add these numbers? Okay. So what's 8 plus 3? 11, and we'll regroup the 10. 1 plus 4 plus 1 is? 6. And then 1 plus 0 is? So my final answer, I have 7 ones. And how many thousandths? 161 thousandths. Okay, good. Okay, so you can see we went place value by place value. We saw we have 7 tenths and 4 hundredths, and to that we're adding 5 tenths and 9 hundredths. So let's go ahead and add each of those place values. If I have 7 tenths and I'm adding 5 more tenths, how many tenths do I have all together? How many tenths do I have all together?
12.
Sonia?
12.
12 tenths, okay? If I have 4 hundredths and I'm adding 13 hundredths to that, how many hundredths do I have altogether? Arun? Sorry, I'm adding 9, so I have 13 hundredths altogether. Now we know that when we have more than 10 of one place value, we can regroup. So let's look at the tenths. Do we have more than 10? We have 12. So we could trade in 10 of those, right, to become 1, 1. And after we regroup 10 of them, how many tenths do we have left? How many tenths do we have left? Tenths? 2. Okay. And looking at the hundredths, do we have more than 10? Yeah, so I can regroup 10 of them to become one of these, right? And how many hundredths do I have left? 3. Okay, so how many ones do I have altogether at the end of my problem? How many ones do I have? Remember, I didn't have any, and then I regrouped 10 tenths to become 1, 1. So how many ones do I have?
1.
I have 1, 1. How many tenths do I have here altogether? 3. And how many hundredths do I have?
3.
Okay, good. This method right here is called using a place value chart, okay? But there's another way that's called using the standard algorithm. Let's talk about that, okay? This is the standard. Okay. An algorithm or standard algorithm means the normal way of doing things, okay? So if I'm adding numbers like 0.774 plus 1.235, the standard algorithm just means you need to line up all of the place values. It's like we were using the place value chart. Do you guys remember? Like, pretend like we had the place value chart here, right? It's just like what we were doing, except without the place value chart. So you have to imagine that the place value chart is there. Then what we would do is we would start, just like normal addition, we would start on the rightmost place value. What is the rightmost place value we have here?
Tenths, hundredths, thousands.
Okay, we said a lot of place values just now. With the quiet hand, which one is the rightmost place value that we have? Lakshin? The thousands. So we start in the thousands. If I have 4 thousands and I'm adding 5 thousands to it, how many thousands do I have? 9. Then I move on to the hundredths. If I have 7 hundredths and 3 hundredths, how many hundredths do I have altogether? 10, but I can regroup that 10 to become 1 what? 1 tenth. So now I have 0 hundredths and 1 extra tenth. 1 tenth plus 7 tenths plus 2 tenths is how many tenths? 10 tenths. But can I regroup that? So I'm going to trade those 10 tenths, so I have 0 tenths now, for 1, 1. And I have 1, 1 plus 0 ones plus 1, 1, which is how many ones? 2. Okay. You need to remember that you're lining up all of the place values. Turn to your neighbor. Why is it important, just like when we were comparing decimals, why is it important when we're using the standard algorithm to make sure all the place values are lined up and the decimal point is lined up as well? So this right here is a very common fabulous fail I see where the place values are not lined up. Okay, this would not get you the correct answer. Another fabulous fail I see sometimes is people will write, they'll start to line it up, but then they get a little bit sloppy in their writing. And do you think this person will solve it correctly? Because you can see this thousands place now is lined up with the hundredths place, and that would not be correct. Okay? So when you're doing the standard algorithm, you need to make sure that you are lining up the place values and the decimal points correctly, imagining that there was a place value chart helping you line things up. Does that make sense? Okay.